Hello everyone. So today I'm going to explain how we are going to use the event-driven approach in microservices with Spring Boot latest version like Spring Boot 3 and Java 17 with Kafka. So this is the basically the things we are going to discuss today. So if we know first of all we need to understand what is this event-driven architecture and event-driven actually what is it. So it is a kind of the software design pattern that basically which is decouple the applications that can asynchronously publish and subscribe to event via any event broker message or maybe message broker. Okay, so in event-driven architecture, whatever the applications or microservice we are having that are basically communicate with each other by sending or receiving events or messages via any kind of media there is a something like called this bus, event bus or Kafka. We can say RabbitMQ. So these are the basically things that basically we need to uh, it is happening that is in the event driven architecture. This is also called this design pattern also called the asynchronous communications, mean the sender and recipient don't have to wait for each other to move on to their next tasks, right? So those are happening very asynchronously, so they are not actually wait for the any input or output. So that suppose nowadays for calling any other microservices, suppose if we need those things in our applications, so for that we are just using maybe REST template or something HTTP client, whatever we have. So using this we are calling this particular service and we are waiting for getting the response from the particular service, right? But in this event driven architecture we are not, means that is a synchronous call basically. In the event driven architecture we are not waiting for this one, we are just we will push some data into the queue and then from the queue it will listen the data from the queue and then accordingly it will process something. So this is the event driven architecture. Now if we talked about the project overview of this one, as you can see over here, this is the diagram for demonstrating this one event driven architecture. I have implemented this, I will implement one order microservices and then payment microservices, and we are going to communicate between this Kafka broker. You guys can also use the RabbitMQ and other messaging systems, so that is depend how you are going to means use this one. So for me I have used this Kafka broker so that we can also understand how the Kafka is also working, how you are going to install the Kafka and other steps, like how are you going to start and stop the Kafka, and so those kind of thing also you can understand. Just basic understanding of the Kafka, I have already one tutorial regarding that, so I will share the link over here in the description section. You guys can check those one so that you guys can have the basic idea how you're going to install those one and what is the concept of in Kafka. Basically you're having a lot of things partitions, consumer, producers, zookeeper, all the concept is having. So please go through those so that you guys can understand the basic concept of this one. Instead of that, as for demonstrating this one, I'm going to also create two microservices. One is the order microservices and another one is the payment microservice. Both two is having a separate databases. For demonstrating this one, I'm going to use the in-memory database like H2 database. But instead of this one, we can also use other databases like MySQL, Oracle, Postgres, any databases we can use. And for creating the microservices, as you know, we can create the project from the Spring Boot initializer easily. So from there we can create the project microservices. It will give us all the prototype and prototype project for us, so that we just need to import into the Eclipse. I'll show you how we are going to import and how we are going to all those things. And for basic Spring Boot project also I have created how we are going to create project, how we are going to import those project into our editor. So that link I will also share in the description section. You guys can just follow those things so that you guys can understand. And the order microservice is basically responsible to where sending one request, then it will save the data into the database and then accordingly it will push data from this service to the Kafka broker. So that means here from here to here we are producing data, and payment service is basically listen the data from this Kafka broker, and it will basically pull the data from broker, and accordingly it will process and also save update the data into the this database. So this is the the basic overview of these things one. So let's I will also explain like how we are going to uh, in a real world how we're going to create those projects. So let's create those microservices and write the code so that we can easily understand like how it is working. So let's create those microservices and Kafka start the Kafka so that really we can understand like how the we are push data publish data into the queue, and from there how we are going to pull the data. So let's check out the code and other things. So for demonstrating this event-driven architecture, I have created two microservices as I was shown in the architectural diagram. One is the order microservice, another one is the payment microservice. Okay, so now like if we checked about the order microservices, so here basically I have already like created this structure like these packages so that we can create the files over here, and then accordingly we can go ahead with this one. So what you basically need, we need one controller which is basically take input from the either postman or from any like channels or anything, so that from there we can take the inputs, and then accordingly it will get the data, and then it will push the data into the Kafka, and also it will update the data into the database. So those things basically we need to do. So for integrating the Kafka with this one, basically we need to provide some informations over here. Okay, so what was the information like uh, basically for integrating the Kafka, we need to first of all we will provide the h2 uh, like uh, h2 console properties for connecting with the h2 databases. So for that we need to enable this one, and then we need to define the data source, means like what was the name of this one, and then the Kafka port, like Kafka basically running in this 9092 port, so we need to define the Kafka bootstrap server over here. Next basically we need to define the orders group of the Kafka. So whenever we are working with the Kafka, then basically we need to define something like this, the order groups, like what is the group ID. And next basically we need to define the serializer. So this is a producer key serializer, means serializer class for the keys, and this is the serializer class for the values. So this is the thing. Okay, and this bootstrap server, this is basically comma delimiter list of hosts that we can provide over here. So for the cluster kind of thing, means suppose if one broker is down, then maybe another one it will do. So these are the things basically we need to define, then it will automatically configure the Kafka. With that, also in the POM file, if you see, like I provide some dependencies over here. This is the Spring Data JPA. This is for connecting with the database. Starter wave, like for the basic things of the microservices, like Spring Boot project. Lombok, just to avoid the extra boilerplate code into the DTOs, we don't need to write the getter and setter. It will taken care if we put some annotation like getter at the rate getter at the setter. This is the database, and this is basically dependencies used for the Kafka. Okay, so these are the things basically we can use so that we can easily connect with the Kafka. Okay, so we have provide some properties over here for Kafka, where the Kafka server, then what is the group ID, and then key serializer, and then value serializer. Okay, so these are the things basically we need to provide, and same thing we need to provide for payment microservice also. So I'll come over later. Now we need to create the controller. So for example, we need to create order controller, for example. So let's create this one. Let's create this class order controller. Okay, so it will basically, as it is a REST controller, so we need to obviously use some REST controller annotations over here, and then also we can provide some kind of the mapping over here. So we can just put like slash API, and then basically we can create one like endpoint. And before that also we need to create some details over here. Basically we can take some input uh, from any external channel or external point like a postman, so that it will give us some input. So for that we need some DTO. So let's create those DTOs. So like this one, customer order. So it will those things like item, quantity, amount, payment mode, order ID, and the address. So next, basically after taking the input, basically it will we can push the data into the Kafka. So for that we need some kind of the event details. So something like this, the type of the event, and then we need to provide the customer order details over here. Next, basically, we need to create the entity where basically the data we can we can store. So we have created the order entities, like it will having IDs, item, quantity, amounts, and the status. And this is repository for saving the data into the database. Okay. Now, if we come over here, like in the controller, so here basically we need to like create the like this endpoint. It's having orders, and this request body like this customer order. So now basically we need to, first of all we need to pick the data from here, and then like we need to uh, set the data. Okay, here basically we need to annotate the repository at the rate AutoWare private order repository. Okay, now we are saving the data over here. Next, basically, so once this is done, then we can we can set the IDs like dot set ID order ID. So order dot get ID. Okay, so it will set the IDs over here. Next, basically, we need to prepare another event like DTO. Okay, okay, and here basically we need to set the data like type order created, and then we are setting the DTO over there. Okay, next basically we need to push the data into the Kafka. So how we are going to push the data? For that we need to use this particular bean private Kafka template. Okay, and it is a combinations of key and value pair. So string it will be the key and value will be the order event, right? So order event. Okay, so here basically we can use this Kafka template. Okay, so then we can basically use this one Kafka template dot send. So here basically, as you can see, what we need to pass, we need to pass this one, this topic name and the event means data. So topic means every Kafka is having a topic. Okay, so we are basically push the data where in Kafka, where we need to push. So we need to push data into the Kafka topic, and from the topic actually it will basically listens the data. Okay, so this is the orders topic, and then we need to use this DTO, which DTO basically we need to pass, which event basically we need to pass. So this is done basically. Okay, so this is the order microservice is ready now. We have put the data over here, all the things we have read the controller, all the things is done now. Next basically we need to prepare the payment microservice. Payment microservice also having the same thing. Like first of all, if we checked over the properties file, here basically we need to put the data. So first of all, like it will by default start in a 8080 port, but we can close all the things 8080 port. But then so for that we need to provide some like path for this. Okay, so let me put some properties over here. So server port for this payment microservice, it's a 8081 because 8080 already used by this order microservice. Okay, and this is the configurations for this h2 database, like this console enable true, and what will be the database, this is the database url. Okay, then like the bootstrap server port with this from here basically the Kafka server is there. This is the group id. Okay, and then like these are the key and value serializer. Okay, so now properties wise we're done. Now next basically we are going to create the controller and the other dtos. So dtos will be similar kind of things like this customer order and the order event, so I've copied from over there. And now like in the entity, like we are going to use the similar fashion. So here basically we are going to use the payment entities like the id, payment mode, order id, amount, and the status, and the repository which is basically responsible to get the data from payment or timing. We don't need this one. Okay, so the repository also done now and DTO also done now. Okay, now we are going to write the controller over here. So let's write the controller, new class, payment controller. So we need to annotate it with REST controller, or we can use the controller. Okay, next basically for it will basically listen the things. It will listen from the Kafka as order will send the data. So this will basically listen the data from the uh, like from the Kafka. So for that, first of all we need to write this method void process payment. Okay, so it will take the like input something like whatever the string event over there. Okay, and next like we can put something like we can read the value basically, because like what I'm saying over here. Okay, it will throw some exception. Yeah, so basically this is the string, means whenever we will get this particular event from the Kafka, then basically it will give us as a string of things. Then we need to like deserialize it. So for deserializing basically we have used the object mapper for deserialize it. Like as you can see over here, the object mapper dot read value from this event, and this will also, if we see this one, so it's taking two input, like one is the content, another one is the value type. So this is the content and this is a value type. Then finally we'll get this data. Okay, whatever it's received, that we get data using this format. Now here basically for listening from the Kafka, we need to use one annotation which is called the Kafka listener. Okay, so this is the Kafka listener, and here basically we need to provide the topic name. As you can see in the like uh, uh, here in the order controller, it send data in this topic. So this topic actually we are going to listen, because we need to provide the topic name over here, else it's unable to read the data, like from where it will like pull the data. Okay, and then we need to pass the group id. So group id means, as you can see over here, this is the group id where basically it's push the data. So we need to use the same group id. Okay, over here. So this is the config, means then it will listen from the over here. Next basically we can uh, from the order event we can pick the data. Okay, like order event dot get order, so that it will get us the data something like this. And then we need to save the data into the payment entity. Okay, so we need to create this DT over here, entities over here, then we have set the data, and then finally we need to save the data into the payment repository. Okay, so this is the overall approach actually. So I'm just again reiterating this one, like for payment MS, what we have, how like it is different from the order microservice. We are sending the data, as you can see over here, we are just sending the data from to the Kafka, and payment is microservice basically listen data from the Kafka, like from here. So for that we have used the Kafka listener, and for sending the data we have used the Kafka template. So using this, basically we are sending data into this topic, and from this here we are basically listen the data from this topic and this group ID. So after listening, we are saving the data into the payment table. Okay, so now let's start this one. So before that, basically we also need to start the Kafka. So let me start this one, Kafka first. So here the Kafka I have already installed. For installation process, please check my the other videos. So for starting this Kafka, first we need to start the zookeeper. So for the starting the zookeeper, this is the command. Using this we can start this one. So once this is start, then we can start the uh, Kafka server. So first let's wait for this one. It will start it soon. Next, basically we can again start now we will start the Kafka server. So for Kafka server, this is the command basically we have used, this kafka-server.bat, and then we need to provide the configure server properties. So this will start. Okay, this is started. Okay, so now basically, so those are started. So now first of all start the order microservice. So we are going to start this one. So order microservice already started, as you can see over here, 880 port. Now we will check for the payment microservice. Now let's start this one. It started. It will initialize 8081 port. Okay. Okay, so that means it is connected with the Kafka, as you can see over here. Okay, the order topic, that topic name we have already provided over there, so it is connected with this one. These are the basically consumer. Okay, okay, so now basically we are try to put the, as you can see over here, we will push some data using Postman. So this is the basically request for placing the order, item, quantity, amount, address, and the payment mode. So let's try this one. We are getting 200, right? Now you can see in the Kafka this assignment received from the leader, this consumer order group 1. Okay, so that means we have received the data. So now if we check for the here, okay, the received event for this payment. So we have received the data in the payment, means from the order basically it is return the data to queue, and from the queue basically it is listen the data, right? Correct. So from the order, as you can see over here, this is the producer ID set to this, and this is the thing basically that is from the order is push the data into the Kafka queue, as you can see over here, and then it will basically receive by the uh, payment microservice. Okay, so in this way basically it is working. Now if we check the data in the H2 console for order, this is a payment. So let's do this orders. Okay, so if we see over here, run this one, so you can see this books is created, this is the payment. Okay, you can see this is a success, right? So this is the basically overall things for this one, like how this is we can use the event driven approach using the Kafka. So for that, just to summarize, we have created two microservices, order microservice and payment microservice. Order microservice is responsible to like take the input from any external channel, which is basically push the data, like take the input and then it will save the data into the database and then it will push data into the Kafka. Okay, using the Kafka template, as you can see over here. Like if you see over here, like you can see the using the Kafka template, we are sending the data into the topic. And this particular means the listener in the payment controller, it's basically listen the data from the Kafka topic. As you can see, the topic name is same and the order ID. Then basically it will listen the data and it will just first of all it will parse the data, and then accordingly it will set the data into the payment entity, and then it will save the data into the payment table. Okay, so this is the overall things of this one. So if you guys have any doubts or any things, please do let me know in the comment sections so that I can clear those things. And in future I will also try to put some more videos on this one, like for how like multiple consumer is working. So those kind of tutorial I will try to put those things also in future. And in the meantime, if you guys have anything or anything, any doubt, please do let me in the comment section so that I can clear those things. And thanks for watching. Bye bye.